You're listening to the Mindful Mama podcast, episode 129. Today we're talking about how to raise Generation Mindful with Suzanne Tucker. Welcome to the Mindful Mama podcast. Here it's about becoming a less irritable, more joyful parent. At Mindful Mama, we know that you cannot give what you do not have. And when you have calm within, then you can give it to your children. I'm your host, Hunter Clark-Field's Mindful Mama mentor. I coach overstressed moms on how to cultivate calm in their daily lives to create more peace and cooperation in their families. I've been practicing mindfulness for over 20 years. I'm the creator of the Mindful Parenting course, and I'm the mom of two girls who challenge me every day to hone my craft. Welcome. I'm so glad you are here today. I'm so welcome back if you are part of this Mindful Mama tribe, and welcome if you are brand new. In just a moment, I'm going to be sitting down with Suzanne Tucker. And I'm going to be asking her about mindful parenting and how she turns things around with her own children. And Suzanne is a parent educator and founder of Generation Mindful, a line of educational tools and toys that nurture emotional intelligence playfully. And make sure you stay tuned to the end of the podcast because I'm going to let you know where you can get one of my personal favorite thing that Generation Mindful has made, the Time In Toolkit. You're going to hear how our brain is ever adaptable and we can flip situations to see every challenge as a gift. You're going to learn what Suzanne's super powerful mantra is that saves her in tough moments, and how punishment and boundaries are two different things, and what are the differences between punishment and boundaries. But before we dive into this episode, I'm going to give you a quick message about our upcoming free mindful parenting training coming up real soon. Are you frustrated with parenting? Do you want to practice conscious, compassionate parenting, but you don't know how? It's not easy, and there's no roadmap for this. Until now. I'm Hunter Clark-Fields, creator of the Mindful Parenting course, and I know how frustrating it is because I've been there. I struggled as a young mom, and when I found myself yelling and triggered by my child, I knew there had to be a better way, and there is. Mindful parenting is different from other parenting trainings. They don't tell you that all of that good advice is as good as useless when our internal stress response is triggered. Mindful parenting teaches you research-based tools and practices to reduce your stress response so that you can respond rather than react. And it teaches you exactly what to say so that you can create willing cooperation from your child. You can learn more and enroll at mindfulparentingcourse.com, and you can join us for a free live training coming up soon where you'll learn why your kids don't listen to you, how your brain undermines your parenting, and how to create cooperative kids without losing your temper. Sign up now at mindfulparentingcourse.com/free training. That's mindfulparentingcourse.com/free training. I'll see you there. And now on to this episode. Suzanne, thank you so much for coming on the Mindful Mama podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Hunter.
I'm so glad we could talk. I'm so excited to introduce my audience to the work you're doing and all the work on emotional intelligence and playfulness and connecting with kids and all of this like amazing stuff that you're doing. I'm really curious about you and your own story. And some of the ways I like to bring this back is to think about you're very interested in parenting, mindful parenting, conscious parenting. What was your own parenting story like? Like, how were you parented as a kid? Is this something that you are like extending or you're rebelling against, or what was that like for you?
Yeah, so such a great question. It's all full circle, isn't it? It's all generational. I see your work, that thread that is generational. So thank you for asking. I'm a daughter actually of parents who never yelled, right? So
Wow.
that people say, what? So my mom and dad raised 7 children. I'm the 5th of 7. And I can honestly say to you that my mom I have no memory of her yelling. But what I do remember is the power that my parents yielded in their expectations of me. And I was a cooperative child, right? I was one of those kids out there that wants to do good and be good. And so really early on, I internalized this idea that if I was good enough, right? If I did good, that I was good. And so I guess in today's world, you'd call it a fixed mindset as opposed to a growth mindset. And, it was never overtly spoken as a family belief system that I needed to be good to be loved. But I think that's what's so interesting about how the child's brain works is that children are just little scientists. And I certainly was. I was a big time watcher. I like to watch people. I still do. And I'm an empath. So I was deeply feeling. And that really confused me as a child in a big family who sort of got the memo that it was about being happy, happy, happy and doing good and being right. So that actually hugely influenced me and my work. My work is I'm a physical therapist for 25 years, and my husband and I own a holistic health center in St. Louis. And that collaborative, holistic East meets West way of seeing the person and healing and everything we're doing is really the root of Generation Mindful. So I started a community for parents and educators that said, you know what? We are love, like, period. Right now, just the way we are. There's nothing to do and nowhere to go. We can really just rest into the love that we are. And from that place, from our enoughness, we can grow. So thank you for asking. Nobody's really ever asked me about why, going way back, but I think that would be my why.
It's so amazing. That's so unusual to have parents who never yelled. I imagine it must have been weird for you to like go to a friend's house and have like a parent. I mean, because that happens. You go visit your friends and they're like, "Go do this," or whatever. That must have been really strange to experience other people's.
Yeah, and again, like I said, and I'm sure you are an empath as well, or a deeply feeling child, if you think back. So I was so deeply feeling that, yes, other adults, I got to say, frankly, scared me. I was such a watcher that people don't need to yell for you to get the memo. If you think about, I like to think about puppies, and the way we are with dogs. You can use hand signals, you can use body language, and they're so cued in that they're listening. And some of us don't know that. We start to train a dog and we think we have to yell at them for them to hear us. And I think if you think back to people maybe don't make that connection with children, it's really the same. They're really cued into us with their limbic brains so subtly, at least I was as a child, that people that yelled, that really did throw me off. I thought, what's going on? Why are we getting all crazy about it? But I also want to say that, it doesn't take yelling to throw negative energies out there in the world, right? So I do think that it really is about our intention, and then it's not about being perfect with our kids. We can yell and we can be angry and we can be frustrated. For me, it's about noticing and owning those things. And the one lacking, I would say, as a child growing up is that there was a lot of unclaimed emotion going on, because not yelling, I don't even know if that's the most healthy thing in the world, never yelling, because sometimes we are having big emotions. And if we can put a word to them or claim them, like, I'm just really frustrated right now. I find that that's a real healthy environment for adults and children. So,
yeah, to acknowledge those things. So, I mean, it's huge. It just labeling something provides so much relief, like, as we know, right?
Yes.
Unclaimed emotion. So it sounds like, there was that pressure to be good, to be loved, and to always kind of be positive, and etc.
It was definitely the belief system that I internalized, and it doesn't mean that it was so. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what's really liberating for us as parents, to understand that our children are souls. They're having a unique spiritual experience. And that's what I came to study and work on, was the love that I am innately, whether it's being validated from outside of me or not. And certainly it was being validated. I have super loving parents and my formative youth experiences are so incredibly foundational and grounding. They're really a blessing. But I think it's a lot of the foundation for the work that I do was that. But I'm here to tell people that if we think we're going to do it right and parent perfect and right, and that our children grow up without any challenges, or if we think that they're our fault, that our children are growing and struggling, I would be a perfect testimony to say, no, that is false. We're just each spiritual beings on a path, on a journey to learn and grow. And that happens through experience.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because it makes sense. Like we have these meaning making brains, right? We're always wanting to know why and how and why.
Why? And back to why. Can we talk about why again?
Yeah. And so when we think about ourselves, we get some self-understanding and we think about the way things are and why are the way things are. There's always that tendency of, of course, and obviously I have that curiosity too. We trace things back to how we were raised and how we grew up. And so then there's that very much human tendency of blaming and judgment. And it's very hard for moms, especially, to escape that self-blaming and that self-judgment. And sometimes it's like, we can't hear those words enough, that we are going to mess up, but it's also in some ways like not our fault,
Yeah, actually, I feel like it comes down to our expectations, and I'm really big on goal setting and then canceling goals that are running me, that aren't working for me. And I really believe in the embodied experience. So I daily, hourly, really by the minute, turn back into my body and say, what is my internal experience about what's going on in my world right now? And when I say my world, my thoughts. So one of the radars that I have set up for myself that was really helpful early on when I was transforming the amount of shame and guilt that was kind of running me was I started to put out a radar that looked for the word should and try. And I really benefited from that every time that would show up, or any sort of feeling of guilt in my body. And I would say it was when I have 4 children. They're almost 18, 15, and twins that are 8. And it was when my oldest 2 girls were probably like 3 and 5 that I was at this pivotal place of recognizing that where was my joy? Where was my joy? That I was really running a number on myself with a lot of stress, that I thought I was going to do it right. I was going to just do this thing right. And I was setting the bar so high all the time for myself that even though I was nailing it, let's say I was at 95%, there wasn't that joy factor of celebrating what was going on in myself. When I started to look to my thoughts and identify, oh, there's guilt running you right now, or there's less than bliss in your body right now. What does it feel like in your body? It feels heavy. I would just stop and literally breathe in through my nose, I am love. And then I would breathe out through my nose, I am enough. And that practice, that very simple practice, my mantras pretty much saved my life, because I needed to anchor my thoughts somewhere. And that was the way that I did it. And that was the way that I took what I consider truth and brought it into my body to where it could really live for me. And that, to me, that was the turning point, that practice.
I love that. Breathing in, I am love. Breathing out, I am enough. We need that. We need that so much. It's amazing how harmful and difficult our brain is.
You know what? It's amazing to watch. Harmful and difficult are 2 great words. Yeah, I would put an asterisk by that, and I would put adaptable.
Yes, adaptable.
In awe of how adaptable we are as human beings. And I think every gift has a challenge. Every gift has a challenge. That's how I look at my life and my children. I think, and when I do coaching, sometimes we're quick to come up with the problem. We see it as a problem. And I teach baby massage every Friday morning at 10 a.m. I sit in a circle. It's a sacred circle of parents, brand new babies, in the world. And we're full of the struggle, right? And the challenge. And sometimes we're just getting to know our little ones' natures too. And that can kind of throw us. But what we practice is just sort of breathing into what is in this circle. They can be crying. They can be very sensitive. They could be sleeping when we went them up. It's just a whole bunch of letting go is what it is. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's about that flipping what I see, like you said earlier, the judgment mind, what I see as a challenge or a problem, quote unquote. I like to structure it as a challenge and then look for the opportunity on the other side. That helps me a lot, So I think that our brain is highly adaptable. And, there's this research around dopamine. I'm sort of a research junkie. I love the amount of information we have out there about the brain and how a relationship and mindfulness specifically. But I also know that information can be disempowering for us if we're not careful, right? So we need to read things, take in the information, let it filter through us, and then look for that embodied wisdom in our body that says, "Ooh, I love that. That's for me," and it'll just light you up when you feel something that's for you. So I had that experience when I was reading about dopamine in the body and how highly adaptable we are. Have you read much about this that I'm talking about?
I'm not sure. I'm really curious to hear what you're saying about the dopamine, because it's not ringing a bell for me. But I want to put a footnote on. I love how you took how the brain can be so harmful in some ways. I'm thinking about of course the negative mindset and that kind of fear part of the brain, but it's also of course very helpful. And I'm really glad you underscored that and talked about that adaptability. So please tell me about the dopamine research.
Sure. Okay. Well, so they did this study where let's imagine you're walking to work every day, Hunter, and on your way to work, there is a $20 bill. They measured your reactive states and your chemical states in your body, both by blood and then the brain waves, what was going on in the brain. And they found that you had this huge rise in dopamine. So dopamine is sort of a feel-good neurotransmitter that says, do more of this, right? I like this. Mm-hmm. And so it's actually found in learning in the body. So when we do something that works for us, that dopamine hits the reward center of our brain. It makes us want to do it more. And so what they found in this research, though, is every day you're walking to work, they put this $20 bill down. And after about 7 days, guess what happens? Your brain adapts to now expecting to find a random $20 bill on your way to work. And when you don't find the $20 bill, not only do you stay level in your pleasure state in your body, you actually go down, right? So now, just because you're not finding a $20 bill, you're having a negative embodied experience. I read that and I was like, oh, mind blowing, right? This so explains my life, right? I am setting the bar every day as if I'm going to find a $20 bill on the ground, and then I don't find a $20 bill, my embodied experience goes down. So do you know what I did? I started shifting my goals. And that is the brilliance of having an adaptable brain. If you're not aware of it, it can run you. But if you're aware of it, you're now sort of in the control seat, where you can reset those expectations. So the way I do that and the way I teach with my community is by daily setting small goals and then celebrating them like you are a rock star when you hit them. And that could be I wiped the counters, boom, rock star. And so I literally make it a practice to celebrate in my day myself and the little things. And that's become a big part of what Generation Mindful is. We're a line of practical, playful tools that nurture emotional intelligence. And the way we work is literally based on that science. That I want to help you break it down and celebrate. Boom, I rock. Look at what we just did. We just connected around a card game. And we're sharing and we're making eye contact and we're having these little moments together, and it's fun. And so I want to help make that an easy, practical, kind of a ritual or habit for families. mindfulness, connection, attachment, all that theory and all that science is awesome, but it can also run us and disempower us if we don't feel like we're able to do it or celebrate ourselves in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Breaking it down into small bits and then celebrating those wins and appreciating that, it sounds like you have a great appreciation practice. Like, yes, this is, I appreciate this thing. And that's an important practice.
Get into all the science around gratitude. I guess that would be it. Yes.
Habit. Yeah. Habit to get into. So what led you to start creating these products and things to help kids and parents connect over emotional intelligence?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was the parents in my positive parenting classes, which I did for years. I've done for decades, but in the last 2 years, I've been doing them pretty regularly live in groups of 30. And I learned so much through those experiences. And the main trigger for me was a mom that after the end of class, she raised her hand and she said, Suzanne, I'm hearing you in my head. And I said, I'm so sorry, and she said, no, it's not a bad thing. She said, I was going to lose it on my child last night and lose it, like really lose it. And she said, I just out of nowhere in my head, I heard connect before you correct, which is a mantra we use in class a lot. And she said, literally with that phrase in my head, everything shifted. She said she got down low, she made eye contact, she did all the things, right? And she said that she felt that they just flowed for her. It wasn't like she worked at it. She had been working at it before. And so she was having kind of an embodied experience is what I would say. And after she shared that, she said, so how do I do that again? How do I do that more when I'm feeling stressed or my child is acting out? How do I share that with my husband? How do I, she was a list of hows. And I just breathed into that experience. I had one of those moments in my body. It was a profound moment where I really identified the struggle. And the struggle that I saw was the embodiment of the knowledge. And, so that was easy. I went home and it just started coming to me. The answer was play. The answer was play. The answer was daily and ritual. And it was starting with our thoughts, right? So it's our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And so with that, I set out and I created a game called Peacemakers, which was really the first thing that came to me. I knew this community was coming, but it really came out in the form of the first product. And it just started unfolding from there. As I identified our 6 core values, it was then easy. It was just like they just kept coming. It's like, okay, just transforming everyday problems that we're facing as parents. That led to the Time In toolkit, because in my work, I just, family after family, found myself coaching families away from the punitive and timeouts and coaching them into the affirmative, which again is the brain science, is how the brain actually learns, was through the positive and through play. And I did that enough times that I kind of woke myself up and said, okay, here's the next opportunity, is turn that into something fun, that just begs to be done every day. And that's sort of the course we're on, is identifying the hard parts, the challenges, and turning them into opportunities, and then solving them in playful ways that become a practice or a ritual.
So I'm so excited to get your cards, but they haven't arrived yet. So I can't get to speak.
Well, you know what? Do you want to play? Because I have a deck here and I've played with people on over the computer.
All right, let's play.
You want to play?
Okay. Bring it, Suzanne.
Bring in the fun. Yeah, we could talk about play all day, but let's just do it. So, the deck comes with 42 cards. They're affirming mantras, right? They all came out of my positive parenting classes. And what I love about the deck is it leans into the science that says we teach by example, right? Yeah. We learn through connection and play, and we teach by example. So it comes with 7 cards. They're the white cards that are really just made for you and me, the parents and the educators, and even maybe the adult children or teens of the world. They're going to be wanting to play with this 7 card deck. And then it comes with a 35 card deck that breaks these sort of 7 theme or bigger mantra concepts down into tiny little nugget bite-sized mantras that even a 3-year-old can grab onto and laugh and play with. So that if you can visualize a deck in front of me with 35 blue cards that are the kid cards, and then the 7 adult cards. So I'm shuffling right now, Hunter, and you are going to just feel in your body. Just take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your nose. And coming to the deck, my little 7-year-old said to me, Mommy, I think my card picks me. Like that. And I said, I think you're right. So it's that experience of your card picking you right now that I want you to have in your body, Hunter. And when you feel it, just say now, and I'll stop my finger on your card.
Now.
There it is. And so your card says, it has a cute little red bear on it. And it says power. Ooh. I am powerful. I am part of a whole. I teach and guide by example. I help others know themselves as powerful and connected.
Amen, sister.
Yeah, you are red now. And that is the root chakra today for you that's vibrating in it. So for me, this work, it's on many levels. It's not only words, but it's color and it's energetic. So I might pull this card and then I might put on a little red nail polish, bring in the red today. Or I might just hang little red bear up somewhere that I can see him or her and let that kind of marinate in my body today. So for you, there it is. That's your word.
I love it. I'll take that. I'll take it.
And then sometimes we play in the game of then maybe you think about that and maybe you want to share, or maybe you don't, what lives for you today when you hear those words or say those words.
Yeah. Well, this podcast is sharing powerful messages, and I have other work connecting with people today that I'm really excited to share some powerful messages with too. So yeah, this completely resonates with me. So this is cool. So you pick a card. So you envision this as like a family getting together and kind of like daily connecting with these positive, powerful mantras to just nurture these positive mindsets.
It is. And it makes it a practice. So a lot of people will pull the card in the morning at the kitchen table when they're eating breakfast, and they'll literally just magnet them up on the refrigerator. And then when your child comes home from school, instead of, how was school today, which is like fine, these can become conversation prompts. So, or a lot of times parents revisit it at bedtime. And so they're tucking them in and you are loved. Did little lovebird come up for you today? Did you see little lovebird today? Did that message come up for you today? And sometimes the answer is no. And that's okay. So the conversation we're having can be really deep around a vibration or around a thought. Positive or affirming messages don't only work by almost like brainwashing you. I think that's how positive affirmations work. They actually bump into cellular memories in our body that do not match. Think about a tuning fork. If I hit a tuning fork, it's going to vibrate a similar tuning fork that's by it. It will send that resonance energy over and it will actually cause that other tuning fork to vibrate. When I say a word in my body, if that resonates truth in me, it'll find that kind of matching tuning fork in my body and it'll start to vibrate it. And that would be like an affirming message that, that's how that kind of strengthens that in us. But at times, it'll actually bump into a wall that it's actually not vibrating for us. And so that's when I sort of go to that place in my body and I breathe and I break it down and I look for the negative belief systems that I'm carrying. And that's where I go to work in cleaning those up. And that's actually how these work in a very more complicated way to explain it with parents and children or actually educators and children. But they don't need to know all of that. They can literally just be having these conversations and they're going to be doing this deep inner healing work that transforms generational patterns through belief systems.
Yeah, just by questioning them, becoming aware of them. These cards are helping you to be, really kind of check in with what feels like truth in your body.
It is. Cool. Yeah, in a playful way. So it's smiles, it's eye contact. It's all based on that limbic brain that says, if we're connected and I feel safe, then I can learn and grow. I can share with you. I can talk to you about how I hit Bobby on the head today because I wanted the toy he was holding, because I feel safe with you right now. And you actually have a chance to teach me now because we're connected. We're connected brain to brain. And now when you go to teach me about something, I can actually pick it up and embody it and take it powerfully, empowered by what you're telling me, instead of just shamed. Oh, I'm bad. I suck. I hit Bobby over the head. That's not nice. Everybody knows that not nice. I must be a monster. I think that's what a lot of 3-year-old little scientists out there are determining from their little science experiments out in the lab called the world. They're determining that, wow, clearly I've got this wrong, because I've got these inclinations in my body that are rooted in self-preservation. I want the toy, I'm going to get the toy. And so really the movement that we're on is getting rid of the shame and teaching children in a way that feels safe about the body, about relationships. And then with those abilities to name their emotions and regulate their bodies come these sort of high-level mastery skills that you and I know exist in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, an area that only starts wiring about age 3 and doesn't really get done till age 26. So instead of sort of running a number on children like, hey, how come you're not operating with a full, deck of cards, we're actually connecting with them developmentally appropriately and helping them form a really strong prefrontal cortex that they can access.
So I love everything you're saying. And I want to take the role a little bit of devil's advocate here. And for one thing I work on a lot with my parents is this idea that for something like hitting, don't I have to create a boundary? And then what they mean by a boundary is I have to yell, I have to stop it, I have to, create a punitive boundary in order for them to understand that this is really wrong. So talk to me a little bit about how you might talk a parent through that.
Great question. So number one, you do need boundaries.
Absolutely.
And boundaries are love. So where we get really confused is that punishment and boundaries are two different things. Punishment causes aversion response. So if I punish you for something, then I'm creating a negative embodied experience that creates an aversion response within you. Okay, that's how punishment works. It's like if you have a lab rat in the thing and it goes and does something and it gets zapped by electricity, that lab rat will potentially avoid doing that thing based on fear of getting zapped. Okay, that's punishment. Mm-hmm. Discipline is to lead and guide by example. It's from the root word disciple. So discipline is boundaries, and it's rooted in feedback, like a scientist would get. When something happens, there's a cause and effect, and then you learn from the effect. But the embodied experience of discipline is not one of fear, okay? It's actually, I'm in my body, I'm in my thinking brain, I'm processing what's going on, and I can learn from it like I'm a scientist, okay? So the distinction is, do I need to lead into fear and shame in order to teach children? And that's the big lie. That's the embodied experience many of us have because we were taught that way. So we believe in what we experience, right? So there's no shame at having that truth in your body as a truth that you think that we need to have punishment in order to teach. If you are there right now, I hold my heart open to you in the biggest way. I want to just wrap my arms around you and just breathe with you. I'm not here to challenge you or to say you're wrong. Not at all. I honor that is the embodied experience that you have. And in that place of just love and connection and safety, when we're there together, I would open up that door for you that says, learning happens when we can take what is happening out in our external world, embody it and make it our own, and then act on it. And that's the opportunity we have for a child who just hit a child over the head. We have an opportunity for self-awareness, empathy and compassion for others, and then a little tiny brain that gets to work on, how do I, quote, make this right? Or how can I go back and do a do-over such that the end result that I just saw happen, which is my best friend crying and me feeling really sad in my body, how can I do a replay where I've learned from this experience now and I can embody that, hey, there's another way. It's called, I have my words, or, or I can go to someone to help me. Do you see how that is such a powerful learning experience for that child then, that they can actually learn and grow and embody that for the next time? I feel like sometimes we feel like we're hitting our head against the wall with kids. We're like, but it's because the technology we're leaning into so often is negative or aversion. Mm-hmm. And that only causes an aversion. It actually doesn't cause learning. So it actually triggers things like lying or doing it when we're not there, because it's not empowerment-based education. They haven't actually learned, they've just avoided. So that's what I would say about the difference between discipline. Discipline is very firm. It's very clear. And my child might cry in the face of my discipline. It doesn't mean that I'm doing it wrong if my child is having emotions. That's probably one of the biggest things I teach, is to let go of happy as your barometer. Because as positive, mindful parents, we think that if we're doing it, quote, right, that we're going to be kind of blissed out on top of a mountain. Everybody's going to be in lotus pose, and it's going to be this really yin, yoga experience all the time. Actually, that's where emotional intelligence come in. It's actually going to be a very emotive experience if we're having a mindful experience. Because mindfulness is being present in the moment with non-judgment, right? With joy and ease. It's being there in the baby crying that's hungry with the wet diaper. It's not denying or suppressing that. It's just being there, like in the chaos. Like, here I am. I'm in the chaos with my emotional toddlers who are very not happy right now that they don't have the color lollipop that they wanted. I am there now, and then you can show up more powerfully. So
that was beautiful. I really appreciate that answer about aversion only causes aversion, and there's not that learning there. And so going back to that idea of connect before you correct, it's like, like when we can connect, when we can not be threatening to our child's brain, and we can actually, then we can teach them about, this is how this affects the world and things like that. And that is a consequence, that there are these natural sort of consequences to those experiences. And I really appreciate that. So this idea of, being mindfully with the chaos, being mindfully with the chaos. How did you do that yourself when your kids were younger? You've got 4 kids. How did you?
They're twins right there at the end there. So.
Oh my goodness. So how did you when they were younger fill your cup, have the wherewithal to be able to have enough bandwidth for you to be able to sit with chaos?
Yeah. I think you're hitting on such an important distinction, which is that it really starts and ends with us, right? Mm-hmm. It really does. And it starts and ends within my body with really uprooting guilt as a motivator. I like to say that guilt is the poorest of advisors. And he was like the head counsel in my body, right? Like, if you think about the movie, what is that? Inside
Out. Yeah, right.
Right. You think about, I don't know where guilt was, but he was surely at the head of my panel. I don't know where that character was in the movie. They had anger, they had fear, they had all these things. But if you think about guilt at the panel, that was the quickest way for me to lose my power. So literally the practice for me was just noticing when it was running me. And, here's something interesting. When you talk about emotional intelligence, 1/4 or 25% of our emotional intelligence comes from what they call self-care or self-management practices. That's huge. And if you just really let that settle in, it's not just going on vacation or getting your nails done, like we talk about, take a break for you. It's really emotional intelligence. It's like the root of our emotional intelligence comes from our ability to love ourselves, to care for ourselves. So I think when I let go of guilt, which was surely running me in the first 5 years, I would feel guilty if I left my child to go rollerblading with my friend. So the entire time, I remember when my first child was a baby, it was the first time I was like left her to go do something fun just for me, right? And I met my best friend at the park to go rollerblading. And it's a 6-mile loop. And the whole time I'm rollerblading, I'm at home with my baby, right? I am not there. Then what happened? I'm feeling guilty. I got home from rollerblading and I felt guilty for not being there with my friend because I just realized I just was not present to my best friend. I was there for an hour and I wasn't present. I was back here. So now I'm back here and I'm not present with my child because I'm feeling guilty that I wasn't there with my friend. And I kind of realized in that moment, like, hey, this isn't real efficient. This isn't real efficient because now you did neither. So I just sort of had an embodied experience of where my power lived, and my power lived in where I was in that moment. And if I could start to really believe that, then I could actually hit the pause button on certain things and almost compartmentalize them and pause something to be here now, and then to really honor that this experience I'm having right now is worthy and to give it to myself.
And besides, you're there anyway.
You're there anyway.
You might as well be there all the way.
Exactly. I love this idea about self-care as restorative and a practice. I think people think of self-care as like girls' night out or take a trip with your husband or go away, go away, go get a massage, go get your nails done. Now, those are all lovely things, but really my restorative practice was in my head. It was in my breathing, and it was in my thoughts. And when I started treating myself a little nicer, and started noticing what was going on in my body, my restorative practice, it doesn't take any more time. We're already there. And that was a game changer. That was really a game changer for me because it's efficient, right? You're already right now, right where you are. How are you treating yourself right now? Are you treating yourself with love? Do you hold yourself, really hold yourself with the sort of loving, adoring eyes that you hold your child? Can you turn those eyes on yourself right now? Just do it. I mean, that's it for me. It's just right now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a change of mindset, right? And it's a change of mindset that my well-being and health and happiness is just as valuable as the well-being and health and happiness of everyone in my family.
And for me, it started with, I am enough. Yeah. The root of my not being able to prioritize myself or of giving wasn't anything other than I was not truly able to hold myself as enough. Really enough right now today, just the way I am. When I really sat in that, then just the other things really started opening up for me.
Breathing in, I am love. Breathing out, I am enough.
I am enough.
Yes. I am enough. Oh my goodness. So there's so much I could talk to you about. I want to see what you think about kind of the idea of the intensification of parenting and that, all the information out there and some of the, this idea that some of the pressures and the things we put on ourselves as parents, does some of our intensive parenting undermine us, especially as women?
Oh, absolutely. So we live in an information age. We just have to recognize that. And if you're going to live in it powerfully, you want to have information. You don't want information to have you. Okay. So it's sort of like, are you working the technology or is the technology working you? So, and that comes back to intention. And it's new for all of us, right? So we learn through experiences, and none of us have been raised at this age as digital natives. We're all new to this world. So it starts with me for saying, number one, I have information, which means when I come to a book or a podcast or a class or a friend who I'm talking to about my experiences, and maybe I am looking for support or knowledge, I want to pause and really clearly set my intention to listen with my body, not my brain. Listen with my body. So when you hear this podcast and something lives for you, I like to say that you are remembering, or the thing that you are hearing is lighting up in your body, and you're having a bodied experience of something you already know. But be aware that in this information age, you can be very quickly disempowered and give your power away to all the experts, quote unquote, and books and things outside of you. And then you're actually having a disembodied experience. So we all know what that feels like. You know, your best friend, or the guy, not your best friend, guy on the street tells you, or your mother-in-law, or you're feeling judgment and shame because something you see on the TV or read in a book. That's a disempowering, disembodied experience. So that for me would be my thoughts on that.
Yeah, we have to be curators now. Like, I think that for millennia in human history, right? So forever, we were gathering resources, we were getting resources, we were always doing that, right? And now it doesn't make sense, I think, for the human animal to us to be able to have to say no to resources, to curate, to declutter. You know, it's interesting. It's like a big shift, I think.
To refine. You are the filter, right? You really are the filter. Have your filter in place consciously. If you have your filter in place consciously, all the information can be coming at you, right? Just like a baby that I work with in infant massage class has a lot of sensory information coming at them because we're sensory beings. But it doesn't have to run you, and it doesn't have to be a negative. It can actually just be kind of awesome. It can be like awesome, just awe-inspiring. You can look out and see all this movement and energy and wisdom and ideas and people and sensory data out there, and then you can have your filters in place. And what will happen is it'll be a much more regulated experience to be in this information, hyper-connected information age that we live in. I'm super excited to be in the information age we live in, because I couldn't do what I'm doing and make the differences that I'm making as a single individual if I didn't live in this hyper-connected world that I'm in, that says I can put a little thing out in the world and actually affect, you know, people in 40 countries just from my little tiny website, right? Like, that's to me just super awesome about the potential power that we have. And like, you know, you can see something really great go viral, and I just really celebrate, like, wow, like the super collective consciousness that we are is right now, right in front of us. Like, we're super tapped into the web, right? The web, the interconnectedness, oneness we are. You can see it that way. That's my joy. You know, when I look at it that way, I see the potential of it. I see the opportunity of it. So I don't know. I would just give that perspective that, you know, it can be really disempowering and overwhelming. If it is, then just hit a reset button, shift the way you're operating in the time and age that we're in, because we're here now, right? This is the opportunity. This is it. This is it.
Yeah. We got to give ourselves those moments of pause so that we can be present for all of that. But I love that. It goes back to that appreciation practice you were talking about earlier, like taking this challenge of all of this information coming at us and changing that filter to have that awe about it and that appreciation about it. I really love the way you do that, Suzanne. That's really beautiful. So how can people find out more about you and what you're doing?
So Generation Mindful is definitely a community. So if you find us on the web, online at our website, genmindful.com, it's probably one of the easiest ways to start the journey there with the community, GEN mindful, MINDFUL.com, and just join. You know, it's free. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out. We have a weekly live Facebook opportunity. It's called Feeling Fridays. It's a live chat where I hop on for 5 to 10 minutes every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we break it down. You know, I like to say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, you know? So we just sort of break down this big topic called feelings and being a mindful family, being a mindful educator. And we pick one mantra a week, and we talk about reality versus illusion, and then how to really embody it playfully. That's it. That's one. We do that little practice every Friday. So that's how you find us. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We're wherever you are.
Suzanne, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. I think that the voice you bring to this work is really beautiful, and the way you've taken this opportunity to create ways for parents and kids to connect and to really bring these empowering thoughts and appreciations into our daily life is really beautiful. So I really want to thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone out there listening. You're so awesome. I just so super celebrate who you are. The fact that you're here listening to this podcast alone, I hope you're just celebrating yourself right now.
Yay. Thank you so much for listening today, my friend. I hope you loved Suzanne as much as I did. Now, I want to let you know that you can get my number one most recommended product of Suzanne's, the Time In Toolkit, by going to mindfulmamamentor.com/resources. That's mindfulmamamentor.com/resources, and you'll find a link to Suzanne's Time In Toolkit and more. So I hope you check it out. I really loved what she had to say about the difference between punishment and boundaries, and that hopeful message about the adaptability of our brain, which is so, so wonderful. I love that. So if you have any questions, you are welcome to reach out to me on Facebook or email me at hunter@mindfulmamamentor.com. You'll see me a lot over these days, and if you want the background, kind of the behind the scenes look of what's going on in my life, you can see that over at Instagram.com. I'm at Mindful Mama Mentor there. And I hope you will be joining me for the Mindful Parenting free training, and that is starting on September 17th. And you can go to mindfulparentingcourse.com/free training to join us there, and then we'll be live every day doing trainings. You can, we'll record everything if you can't make it, but I hope you'll be there with us. And I'm wishing you a beautiful week, my friend. I'm wishing you some peace and some equanimity in your week. And as we are here at this crazy season, a time of transitions indeed. So I'm sending you wishes for peace, and in my own family too. Oh my gosh, absolutely. So I will talk to you soon. Talk to you next week. Namaste. Are you frustrated with parenting? Do you want to practice conscious, compassionate parenting, but you don't know how? It's not easy, and there's no roadmap for this. Until now. I'm Hunter Clark-Fields, creator of the Mindful Parenting course, and I know how frustrating it is because I've been there. I struggled as a young mom, and when I found myself yelling and triggered by my child, I knew there had to be a better way, and there is. Mindful parenting is different from other parenting trainings. They don't tell you that all of that good advice is as good as useless when our internal stress response is triggered. Mindful parenting teaches you research-based tools and practices to reduce your stress response so that you can respond rather than react. And it teaches you exactly what to say so that you can create willing cooperation from your child. You can learn more and enroll at mindfulparentingcourse.com, and you can join us for a free live training coming up soon where you'll learn why your kids don't listen to you, how your brain undermines your parenting, and how to create cooperative kids without losing your temper. Sign up now at mindfulparentingcourse.com/free training. That's mindfulparentingcourse.com/free training. I'll see you there.